The festive mood at the family dinner was palpable until the husband decided to share his joyous news. "I transferred 3 million rubles to my mother. Let her buy an apartment for herself," he declared proudly to his wife's parents. His mother-in-law beamed with delight at receiving such a generous gift from her son. However, for the young woman's mother, these words were a crushing blow. She had sold her own mother's inheritance to help her children with the down payment for their home. Hello, dear listeners. I'm delighted to welcome you to my channel. I present to you an interesting news story. Enjoy listening. Ksenia heard the phrase as if from a distance, as if it wasn't her husband who said it, but a random passerby on the street. She sat at the festive table, smiling, pouring tea into cups, and suddenly the world tilted. She would buy it for herself. Ilya shone as if announcing the birth of his firstborn. His mother, Lydia Borisovna, flushed, stretched her neck, and her eyes sparkled. "My darling boy, are you serious?" she cooed, but it was evident she was pretending. She had known beforehand, of course, probably badgered him for it herself, as always. Ksenia didn't immediately turn her head towards her parents. She was afraid. But when she finally looked, she saw her mother had gone as pale as a ghost, her lips turning blue. Her hand twitched towards her chest, grasping the collar of her blouse. Her father sat motionless, only his jaw muscles tensing as if he were clenching his teeth with all his might. 6 months ago, it was precisely her mother who had sold her grandmother's 2-room apartment in the old district, the only inheritance. It came out to 3,100,000 rubles. 2.5 million she gave to Ksenia and Ilya for the down payment on their 3-room apartment in the new building, the rest for her grandmother's funeral and minor debts. "We'll pay you back later, Mommy," Ksenia whispered then, hugging her in the kitchen. "We absolutely will." "Oh, don't worry, dear," her mother waved away, but her eyes were wet. "The main thing is that you both are well." Her father remained silent then. Only after Ilya left did he say curtly, "Make sure he appreciates it." Ksenia nodded, believing Ilya appreciated her. 2 years together, 1 year married. He had always been attentive, caring. Yes, he called his mother every day, but that was normal, right? Yes, sometimes Lydia Borisovna would arrive unannounced and start making remarks, like, "Dust on the wardrobe, borscht not salty enough." But Ksenia endured it, family after all. And now, these exact 3 million. "Where did you get such money?" her father asked quietly, but his voice was like stone grinding against stone. Ilya shrugged, smiling carelessly. "Well, I saved up. I had a good bonus at the end of the year. Plus, I closed a project, got a bonus. I decided to help my mother. She's dreamed of her own place her whole life. She got tired of that small 1-room apartment." Lydia Borisovna nodded enthusiastically. Yes, 42 years in that hole, and now she can finally live properly. Ksenia's mother remained silent, her hands trembling. "And when do you plan to return it to us?" Her father didn't raise his voice, but each word seemed hammered in like a nail. 2.5 million, remember? Ilya blinked, his smile faltering. "Well, we agreed it wasn't urgent. Gradually." "Gradually," his father repeated. "But my wife's mother needed the money for an apartment urgently." "Yes." Lydia Borisovna pouted. "What are you even talking about? Ilya earned it himself, by his own labor. He has the right to dispose of it as he wishes." "Earned it," her father smirked crookedly, "with the money that doesn't go towards the mortgage because we paid the down payment. Convenient, isn't it?" Ksenia sat there, everything inside her tightening. She wanted to say something, but her throat constricted. Ilya nervously rubbed his face. "Look, let's not do this here. This is family. We'll pay it all back, I promise." When her father looked at him intently, through her, well, in a year or 2, maybe 3. Her father stood up, slowly, unhurriedly, as if measuring each movement. Her mother reached out to him fearfully, but he gently moved her hand away. "Pack your things, Tanya," he said to his wife. "Let's go home." "Dad," Ksenia began, but he raised his hand. "Daughter, I don't blame you. You probably just found out yourself." He looked at Ilya with a long, heavy gaze. "But here's what I'll tell you. If you haven't returned at least half by summer, I'll sue. We have a promissory note for the return of the debt." Ilya turned pale. "What promissory note? We're family." "There's a promissory note." Her father pulled a folded sheet from his inner jacket pocket. "You signed it when you took the money. 2,500,000 rubles. Repayment term, 2 years. You still have a year and a half, but I won't wait. Summer and at least half. Otherwise, court, account seizure, inventory of property. We'll see how your dear mother lives then." Lydia Borisovna jumped up, gasping with indignation. "How dare you!" Her father didn't even glance at her. He handed her mother's coat and put an arm around her shoulders. Her mother was still pale, her hands trembling. Her father kissed Ksenia on the crown of her head. "Think about everything, my daughter. Think carefully." The door closed softly behind them. Ksenia sat, staring at the wall. Ilya and Lydia Borisovna were silent. Then the mother-in-law spoke, quietly, venomously. "What nerve. They gave money and now they're reproaching us. A promissory note, imagine. Their own daughter, and they treat her like a stranger." "Mom, be quiet," Ilya said, running a hand over his face. "Why be quiet? I'm telling the truth. They offered to help themselves. Now you're acting like big shots." Ksenia turned slowly, looking at her mother-in-law, causing her to falter. "$3 million, Ksenia said softly. "You received $3 million for an apartment, and my mother sold her grandmother's inheritance so that your son and I could have this 3-room place." "So what?" Lydia Borisovna jutted her chin forward. "Ilya earned it by his own labor. By his own labor." Ksenia smirked. "Tell me, Ilya, how much do you have left after the mortgage and all expenses each month?" He remained silent. 50,000? 70? Ksenia stood up. "Even if it's 100, where did $3 million come from in a year? Even if you hadn't spent anything at all?" "There were bonuses." "Bonuses?" She laughed bitterly. "Last year the bonus was 120,000. You told me yourself you were happy. A project bonus of 80,000. I remember everything. Where did the money come from, Ilya?" He averted his eyes. "I saved up. Ksenia stepped closer. "And for the fur coat I've wanted for 3 years, you said, 'Too expensive, we'll buy it later.' And for a vacation to Sochi? 'Let's go next year, we can't afford it now.' But for your mother, $3 million for an apartment? Just like that." Lydia Borisovna jumped up. "How dare you talk to your husband like that? He has the right to help his mother. He does." Ksenia turned to her. "Except not with the money that was left over, because my parents paid the down payment. Not with the money that he and I earned together. That's his salary. And mine, too." Ksenia worked as a manager in a trading company, earning 70,000. "I pay for half the expenses. Groceries, utilities, clothes, half the mortgage. We have a joint budget, remember? Or have you forgotten?" Ilya clenched his fists. "Ksyuka, but she's my mother." "And is my mother a stranger?" Her voice broke. "My mother sold her grandmother's apartment, the only thing she had. And you showered your mother with her money. I'll return it." "When?" "In 3 years." "And what about my parents? Should they wait while your mommy strolls around her new apartment?" Lydia Borisovna's face turned purple. "How dare you? I raised him alone. I wasted my whole life on him. And he owes you his whole life now." "Yes." Ksenia felt everything inside her boiling. "He owes you to buy an apartment. He owes you to give you money. He owes you to report to you. And what about me? Furniture. You're his wife," the mother-in-law snapped. "You're supposed to support your husband, not throw hysterics." "Support?" Ksenia laughed nervously. "Here's what I'll tell you. That money is mine. Half of those $3 million are mine, because while he was saving them, I was paying for groceries, utilities, his socks and shirts. I've been saving on everything, and he, it turns out, was saving up for his mommy's apartment." "That's not your money," Lydia Borisovna shrieked. "Oh, but it is mine." Ksenia stepped right up to her. "And you know what? You can enjoy your apartment. But tomorrow I'm going to a lawyer, and if my parents sue, I will testify on their side about the joint budget, about the expenses, about everything." Ilya grabbed her hand. "What are you saying? We're a family." Ksenia pulled her hand away so sharply that he recoiled. "A family? You remembered family when you transferred $3 million to Mommy. Did you think about family then?" They stood there, breathing heavily. Lydia Borisovna, now pale, was gathering her bag. I'm going. You, Ilya, call me later." She left quickly, almost ran. Ksenia and Ilya were left alone. "Ksyuka." He tried to hug her, but she pulled away. "I'm sorry. I really wanted to help my mother. She's done so much for me. And my parents, haven't they done anything?" Ksenia felt tears welling up, but she held them back. They gave you $2.5 million without interest, just like that, because they believed in you. I'll return it. When, Ilya? When? He was silent. That's what I don't know. Ksenia walked into the bedroom and got a suitcase. I'm leaving for my parents. Are you serious? As serious as can be. I'll live there until you pay them back every last kopeck. But those are years. Your problems, Ksenia. Ksenia shoved clothes into the suitcase. Her hands trembled. You should have thought about it earlier. Ksyuka, don't. He tried to stop her, grabbing her shoulder. She turned and slapped him. Not hard, but it rang out. Don't touch me. He froze, holding his cheek. Ksenia packed the essentials, closed the suitcase. I'll come back tomorrow for the rest, when you're not here. I'll leave the keys on the table. You're just abandoning me like this. It's not me abandoning you. She looked him in the eye. It's you who betrayed us, me and my parents. The door closed softly behind her, just as it had behind her parents. Ilya was left alone in the apartment, in this 3-room place bought with his mother's money. Ksenia arrived at her parents' late in the evening. Her mother opened the door, saw the suitcase, and burst into tears immediately. She hugged her daughter, stroked her head, and whispered, "It's okay, my darling, it's okay." Her father sat in the kitchen drinking tea. When Ksenia entered, he nodded. You did the right thing. She sat opposite him, and then the tears finally flowed. She sobbed into her hands, no longer holding back. Her father remained silent, only placing a heavy, warm hand on her shoulder. Am I a fool? Yes, Ksenia sobbed. I didn't see that he wasn't a fool. Her father shook his head. You were in love. That's different. What do we do now? Here's what. Her father took out his phone and opened the calculator. Tomorrow, I'm filing a lawsuit to recover the debt. We have a promissory note. Everything is clear. The court will take about 3 to 4 months, then enforcement proceedings. If he doesn't return it voluntarily, bailiffs will seize his accounts. But that's his salary. They can't seize the entire salary, only up to 50%, but other accounts, deposits, please. And if it turns out he transferred the money to his mother to avoid debt, they can dispute that, too. Seriously? Ksenia raised her head. Seriously. It's called a fictitious transaction for the purpose of evading obligations. If we prove that he intentionally moved assets, the court can oblige his mother to return the money or seize her new apartment. Ksenia wiped her tears. Something tightened inside her, but no longer from pain. It was from cold, clear anger. File it, she said softly. I'll be a witness. I'll tell everything about the joint budget, about how I paid for half the expenses. We'll prove that it was our joint money, not just his. Her father smirked. That's my smart girl. The next day, Ilya called 20 times. Ksenia didn't answer. Then a message came. Ksyuka, please forgive me. Let's talk. I understand everything now. We'll return your parents' money. Just don't leave, please. She replied briefly. There's nothing to talk about. Wait for the court summons. 2 days later, Lydia Borisovna called. Ksenia picked up on the 5th ring. What? Have you gone completely crazy? The mother-in-law yelled immediately. You're destroying the family over money. You're the ones who destroyed the family, Ksenia said, surprised at how calm her voice sounded. I'm just dealing with the consequences. How dare you? Ilya owes me his whole life because He doesn't owe you anything, Ksenia smirked. You gave birth to him. That was your choice. But you appropriated my parents' money. That's not a choice anymore. It's theft. Theft? Yes. Goodbye, Lydia Borisovna. Ksenia hung up, blocked the number, and felt better. The lawsuit was filed a week later. 2 weeks after that, Ilya received a summons. He called again, wrote again, begged. Ksenia remained silent. Her father advised her not to communicate with him at all until the trial. The court hearing was scheduled for the end of April. Ilya came with his lawyer, a young, confident guy in an expensive suit. Lydia Borisovna sat in the hall, red-faced and tense. The lawyer tried to argue that the money was a gift, not a loan, but her father calmly presented the notarized promissory note. Then Ksenia was called. She talked about the joint budget, about how they split expenses 50-50. She showed bank statements from her account, transfers for groceries, utilities, and shared needs. The lawyer tried to corner her with questions, but Ksenia held firm. You claim you have a right to half the money your husband transferred to his mother. I claim that this money was accumulated because I paid for half of our expenses. If it weren't for me, he couldn't have saved a single kopeck. The judge nodded, writing something down. Ilya sat pale, his eyes downcast. A month later, the decision came to collect 2,500,000 rubles from Ilya in favor of Ksenia's parents, with a 6-month repayment period. If not paid voluntarily, the case would be handed over to the bailiffs. Ilya called the day after the decision. Ksenia picked up this time. "Ksyuka, are you happy now?" His voice was hoarse, angry. "Now I'll have to pay for the rest of my life." "You should have thought about it earlier." She was surprised how little his words affected her now. "When I was transferring money to Mommy, I didn't do it on purpose, you know. It doesn't matter now. Intentionally or not, the result is the same. My parents are left without money, and your mother has an apartment." "She's already selling it," he said quietly, "to return at least a part." "A smart woman," Ksenia smirked. "Tell her I'm happy for her." "You've become so angry." "I've become fair." She looked out the window at the spring courtyard, at the swollen buds on the trees. "Those are different things." Lydia Borisovna sold the apartment in June and returned $2 million, everything she received after deducting the transaction costs. The rest, Ilya would have to pay himself. He took a second job as a loader on weekends. Ksenia learned about it from mutual acquaintances. She didn't pity him. The divorce was finalized in August. Quietly, without scandals. There was nothing to divide. The apartment was mortgaged. There were debts. Ksenia renounced her share, simply left. She didn't want anything that would tie her to this man. She returned to her parents, got a new job as a sales manager in a large company. Her salary was higher than before. She rented a room at first, then saved up and rented a one-room apartment. Not a luxury, but her own. Her parents received the money in full by the end of the year. Her father wanted to invest it in renovating the dacha, but her mother said, "Let's help our daughter. Let her save for an apartment." Ksenia refused. "Enough, Mom. You've done your part. Now it's my turn to manage on my own." Her mother hugged her and kissed her on the forehead. Her father nodded with respect. 2 years passed. Ksenia met another man, a quiet, calm programmer named Artem, without an arrogant mother, without pretentiousness. He rented an apartment just like her and was saving for a down payment. They dated for 6 months before he suggested moving in together. "Just let's agree on one thing from the start," Ksenia said. "No joint money for parents without discussion. No surprises." He laughed. "My mother lives in Yekaterinburg and takes care of herself perfectly well, so don't worry." They rented a 2-room apartment together, got married a year later, and saved for the down payment themselves, 50-50. Ksenia's parents gave them $100,000 for furniture, just because, without any notes or conditions. One winter, Ksenia met Ilya in a shopping center. He looked older, thinner, with weariness in his eyes. He saw her and froze. "Ksyuka, hello," Ilya said, and she nodded calmly. "How are you?" "Fine, married. How are you?" He shrugged. "Working, paying the mortgage. Mom moved back into the one-room apartment. Had to sell that apartment, you know." "I know." They stood in awkward silence. Then Ilya said quietly, "I'm sorry. I was an idiot back then." "Was?" Ksenia smiled sadly. "But it doesn't matter anymore. Are you happy?" "Yes." "And you?" He smirked bitterly. "No. But it's probably fair." She nodded, said goodbye, and left. She glanced back once more. He stood in the middle of the shopping center, small, hunched. She felt neither pity nor joy, just emptiness. In the evening at home, Artem asked, "Why are you so thoughtful?" "I met my ex-husband." Ksenia hugged him. "You know, I kept wondering if I'd forgiven him or not. Turns out, I've just let go. It's a pleasant feeling." He kissed her on the crown of her head. "Then everything is as it should be." 3 years later, they had a daughter. They named her Anna in honor of Ksenia's grandmother, the very one whose apartment had once been the bone of contention. Her parents arrived at the maternity hospital first. Her mother cried with joy. Her father stood with the bouquet, his eyes moist. "Thank you," Ksenia whispered, looking at her daughter, "for everything." Her father leaned down and kissed his granddaughter's tiny hand, thanking her for being strong. At the discharge from the hospital, her father took his granddaughter in his arms and whispered something in her ear. Ksenia asked later, "What did you tell her?" He smirked. "I told her, grow up smart and choose men by their deeds, not their words." Ksenia laughed. Her mother laughed too. Artem didn't understand, but smiled along. That evening, after everyone had left, Artem sat by the crib, rocking their daughter. Ksenia looked at them and thought, this is happiness. Not loud, not pretentious. Simple, honest, without manipulation and debts. Anna slept soundly. Artem smiled at Ksenia, and she thought, life is strange. It breaks you down to rebuild you correctly.